Hey, hey, welcome back to Purposeful Productivity Show. I am Florence Donald, and I'm so happy to have you in the building with me tonight. Well, we have another treat. This is International Women's Month, everybody, and International Women's Day was just a little while ago. So I think it was on Wednesday, the 12th. Well, no, the 8th. I'm got my days wrong. I think it was on the 8th. Um, so I have invited a powerful woman to join us tonight and share what it's like to be bivocational, as you all have heard me say, covering multiple areas of life, multiple responsibilities. She owns a marketing business. She is a content creator. She has a full time corporate gig that she's in. She's a strong, powerful ministry leader. She's an author. So, with all of those roles, and some would say maybe jobs, and on top of all of that, she has a family she takes care of. So, with all of that, she can certainly share with us how she goes about managing all of the things, as we say, on her plate and keep them straight. And I am super thrilled to have her because I met her doing content creation and I have begun to sit under some of her training, her tutelage, and most importantly, she loves to drive her little red car up my drive and toot the horn and back up and do it again. Y'all, I want you to put your warm welcome hands together and invite Miss ToraNado to the stage. So glad to have you here.
Thank you, Florence. Beep, beep, toot, toot. Let's
Beep, beep,
go.
toot, toot. Let's go. That little red car gonna be busy today.
At least you gave them a fair warning, right?
I
I
gave
am
them a
not,
fair warning. I gave them a fair warning. So if you know what, if they get confused, I don't know what to say. You're just gonna be confused. So, Tora, I know you, but there may be somebody out there who doesn't know who you are. I'm gonna ask you to just take a minute and say, who is Tora? What's your origin story? I've told a little bit about you, but where do you land? What's your passion and all of those things? Let the people know who's gonna answer their questions. And folks putting red cards in the chat already, ma'am.
I love it. Let me give the long, short version of this. I've been a jack of all trades, people would always say. And I guess I will first start with, how I came to the name Tornado. Um, because at one point, I had so many different things going. And a dear friend of mine said, you know what? You're just like a little tornado. You come into people's lives and you just stir them up, but in a good way. And so, the thing that I found out from that was I kind of walked into my calling from that point. I was born and raised in Mississippi, music major, went on from that to do, a few other things, just kind of dibbling and dabbling, just testing my foot at a lot of things. I did air marshaling work, all sorts of things. But I found in that silent time, I really enjoyed design. And, the more I sat in that quiet time with design, that led me to start hearing what I say voices. You say, well, hearing voices, and I would hear this voice, this still voice saying, there's more. I want you to do something different. And I would ignore it for the longest time. But what I found out that happened was, by God's design, He took all of the things that I loved and combined them into one, and that's music, media, ministry, and marketing. And so that's the short version, of all of the things that I do.
Okay. Well, that's quite a bit. Music, media, ministry, marketing, y'all. So if you got questions in those areas, this is a great time to ask your questions. And what I'm going to implore you to do is where you have a question, put a Q colon in front of it so that I can find it. But I want to say hello to some folks real quick before you and I start because I got questions. If nobody else has questions, I got questions. But before we get into that, I do want to greet the folks who've said they're going to spend a little bit of time with us today and then we'll move on. This must be someone who knows you because welcome to the productivity. Jessica, so
Mhm.
glad to have you in the building with us. Welcome, welcome. Of course, moderator Trank Jackson is here with us. He's also in the lounge for those who know, you know, giving us instruction and keeping us straight. Welcome. Glad to see you serving. I do recognize this young lady, Miss Delisa. Good morning or good evening. I guess technically it's evening. We usually see each other in the morning. Glad to have you here with us. And I don't know, Dolce, is that how you pronounce it? Dolce? Hello, welcome. I love your what are those called? Emoji. Yes, and happy Wednesday, Live Tribe. This is a little different because usually we're here on Friday, but we want to be respectful of our guests. So, welcome another one of our moderators, my brother as well, and a phenomenal. So, you guys will get along because he's a designer's designer, Tora. And oh, I think you know this young lady.
Yes, the number one sportscasteress.
There you go. There you go. Hey, Miss Yolanda B. So glad to have you in the building with us. And our other moderator is here, Miss Inanea. Glad to have you here with us as well. I'm just double checking. I don't want to miss anybody. I don't think I missed anybody. So, questions we're going to look for, and then we'll come back after we answer all your questions and address other things. So, with that, I want to uh, get started with some questions here. You explain your background, and you're dealing with many different roles every
Mhm.
day, and you're moving. And so we're going to talk a little bit about work life harmony because it all has to work in harmony. What would you say is your number one and maybe number two approach to keeping all of these parts of your world in harmony? You have one life, so it's not work life balance, it's work life harmony.
The way I would describe it, as a music major, it really taught me something profound. You can't just play the same dull note over and over. If I was sitting here now and I had a little keyboard in front of me and I just constantly hit the C key and over and over and over, I couldn't do that and call it a song. So to
Mm.
me, that life work balance, that harmony is like music because music is about harmony. It's not about forcing balance because if we're real and honest, some seasons require a big crescendo, while some you downplay it and you play it softly. But if you're intentional about what you do, everything still moves with the melody. So for me, work life harmony means structuring my time so that neither my career nor my passion projects drown out each other. And it's about knowing when to lean in to the rhythm of work and when to step back so that my personal life doesn't, hit a bad chord. So for me, there are a lot of things that are non-negotiable in that. And so in order to stay in tune and stay in harmony at the end of the day, it's about making sure that each note, each step that I take all sound right and they work together in one rhythm.
So you speaking of that, keeping things in harmony, there's something that you do, and I marvel watching you do it. So I would love to know how you came to this decision to attach or attack one portion of these roles you have. Once a week, you prepare all of your morning Bible studies. You schedule them all at the same time. Can you kind of walk us through what that looks like in your world? How far out you're planning? Is it just that week, or you've got several weeks planned out? And how you came to that approach to keep that balance, that harmony going in your world.
One of the things that actually, to be honest, the right now we're going through the book of Proverbs. And every now and then, the spirit will say, pump the brakes. It's time to stop. When we come off of it, we go through that series, but we pick right back up. But the entire year is actually all planned out. starting in November of last year, I sat and started going through a deep study because it's so important to me to make sure the words that I'm delivering to encourage that those words are true and correct, because in the end, that comes back on me. And I know that time is precious. And no matter, I love Maxine Waters, but no matter what she says, we can't reclaim the time. So to best utilize my time, I sat down and I planned everything out. And so then I just pull from what I need in chunks. And then if there's that occasion where the spirit says, okay, stop, this is what I need you to cover, it gives me that wiggle room, so to say, to be able to put that on hold and know I can pick it right back up where I left off. But it does take some structure. And then, so like you said, I do sit down, all of my thumbnails are done at one time. I do those on the fly and I sit down. And the one thing, for those that know me, I don't do anything without three forms of confirmation, and it always comes in some form. It may be, I may listen to one of your videos late at night and you may say something, a word that's in the upcoming study. To me, that's a piece of confirmation. So even when I design my thumbnails, those, to me, I call those my divine digital downloads. And I sit and I say, Lord, what do you want on this? Because I don't go by what they say. They say your thumbnails have to look like this. They need to look this way. No, everything that I do is done on divine wisdom and divine timing. So when it comes to my scheduling, all of that's done well ahead of time. So that way I can even go back and say, wait a minute, did I understand this correctly? Right, Lord, is this the way that you want me to go? So I don't move, until, like scripture says, if the cloud doesn't move, I don't move.
What'd she say? What you say, Holy Spirit? Okay. If you all have ever watched her, you watched her get that download. If you've ever watched her, you've seen her get that download. So it is so real. It is so real. So, having said that, what is your, and I'm going to say this knowing it's probably not true, what's your typical day look like?
Well, it starts at 4:30 a.m. and from 4:30 to 5 a.m., that's my time. That's my time. And I'm listening for also that still voice to say, you know what? I know I told you this is what I want you to do. This is what you had prepared, but I need you to redirect. So I have to be able to move quickly at the same time. So then by 5 o'clock, I'm coming in here. I'm turning all the lights on in the studio and I'm saying, are you sure, Lord? Is this still the direction that you want me to move in? And he's saying yes. So at 5:30, because I believe God is a God of order, I don't care if that number says zero, I'm hitting go live. God is the God of order, so I strive to be right on time at 5:30. So then from 5:30, usually to about 6:30, the broadcast. After the broadcast, I have a little bit more me time and really time to soak in and replay back in my head what I just went through for the last hour and a half and how I can apply it to me. Because I truly believe I have to live it out for my community and my family, right? I just can't come on and give those words. So I say, how can I
Mhm.
apply this to me today? So
Mhm.
then from there, I go on to the 7 to 4 job. So in between the 7 to 4 job, I'm saying, on, like my lunch hour, on my breaks, I'm saying, okay, what else do I need to get out? So I start pulling out the calendar, because everything's on the calendar. Who do I have calls scheduled with? And those calls include, friends, family, not just business. I schedule, hey, we're going to talk this day. We're on the calendar. So then I look at the calendar, see what's coming up for the afternoon, or if I have a Bible study or a coaching session or a counseling session later on. So then after work, I usually take about an hour and a half break or so, and then I'm right back at it again, usually until about 8:30, 9 o'clock at night.
Okay. You all, there was gold in there. Structure, using the calendar for everything, not just the job, not just content creation, not just marketing, for everything, friends, family, health, you name it, right? It's what I heard you say. So if you guys are paying attention, those are some real keys to managing all of these different parts of our life, that we have. And us women, sometimes we be trying to be superwoman. She didn't say
Hmm.
she was trying to be Superwoman. She's very intentional. There are some things in there that I can imagine you've intentionally said, "These are things I'm not doing," because then it gives you the flexibility to do things that you are doing. So you're not trying to be all things to all people.
That's true. That's true. And I'll be honest and say there was a time when I felt like in order to be a part of the in crowd, that's what I had to do. In order to make it, in order to be successful, I felt that I had to find my value in being everything for everyone. But what I found out that I was so drained and I didn't have a clear direction on where I was going or what I truly wanted. And so I quickly found out this isn't the way to go. And so
Mhm.
once I had to pull back and set those boundaries and say no. And I used to have a friend of mine that says, you have to train people how to treat you. Behavior modification. And I know saying this in the chat, she always says, "Are you doing that thing that you do to me? Are you doing?" And a friend of mine, she was a psychologist, and that's one of the things she said, you have to behaviorally modify people. You have to teach them how to treat you, and if you don't set those boundaries, you open the gate for anything. But the first thing is being able to set those boundaries with yourself to say what you will accept and what you won't accept.
Mm. Y'all, and that was actually my next question is how do you go about setting your boundaries? How do you set those and it was really between your work and your personal life, but it's all one life. But
Hmm.
you basically said you did some behavior modifications, and I've had folks in the community and clients say I'm bounced around too much. And it's interesting to hear you say that because one of the things I say is we teach people how to treat us. That's that behavior modification. If we've trained people that every time they call, we're going to pick up the phone, then helped them. We've set that expectation with them, right? So you're
Hmm.
setting others' expectations so they know what to expect, whether you're going to answer the phone or respond to an email or be on social media, whatever it may be. And it sounds like you're doing that in all areas of your life. Is that accurate?
Yeah, I mean, you really have to, it takes some training, it takes some work, but after a while, you fall into that rhythm. And anything outside of that throws off, well, for me, throws off my focus because I just don't focus on what needs to be done today. I focus on what lasts. And every task, every decision, it has to align with my long term vision. And for me, in all aspects of my life, long term isn't just about the next 5 years, it's about the eternal. So if it's not going to move me closer to my purpose, if it doesn't contribute to do something that outlives me, it's not going to get priority in my life.
Powerful words right there. Powerful message. Priority in your life is not just today and what you can see or the next 5 years. And
Hmm.
sometimes we fall off the wagon. Honestly, I fall off the
Yeah.
wagon and be like, "Ooh, I got some work to do." And so when you find yourself in that place where you've been intentional, but you're still something is off, whether it's scheduling, whether it's whatever, how do you I think I know the answer, but I'm gonna say, what do you do to get yourself back in alignment?
As far as what do you?
So sometimes we have all these great plans and structure and everything, and yet we find ourselves, as I say, off the rails. We've gone too far one way or the other. We've let something important drop.
Mm.
We're working or we're up way too late. We're not getting enough rest. We're not taking care of us. Um, how do you recenter or realign and get back in alignment so that you're not all over the place, as that saying goes?
And end up with burnout, as they say.
And
Because
yeah, but you just end up with, instead of praying, you're just doing what the Bible tells you not to do. You're anxious because things have been everywhere.
you when it comes to that, I really have to sit for me. I have to sit down and say, first acknowledge where I got off track. And before I would kind of beat myself, man, I can't believe I allowed that to come in and take so much of my time. Or there will be occasions where, you pick up this little thing and you go to post, but you see something. And then the next thing you know, you're in a scroll hole. And you look and you're like, did an hour just pass by? An hour and a half? Really? And so I have to stop and evaluate and say, where did I get off track? What happened? And just simply not beat myself up over it, but just redirect and make sure to say, I have to watch this. So you have to know almost, how people, they use the word triggers. And so you
Mm-hmm.
almost have to know, I can't willingly walk through this gate. I cannot pick this phone up if I have this, this, and this to do. And really list out what went
Mm-hmm.
wrong, why it went wrong. And if you can't pinpoint at, exactly what it was, because it could be a number of things. But in order to keep that focus, you first have to acknowledge it. And once you've done that, move from that point. And again, not beating yourself up about it, but giving yourself that grace, that mercy to say, okay, I'm going to do differently the next time. And just really try not to make those mistakes and put those things in place. Maybe a timer. One of the things that I used to use for a while was the Opal app. But I've really gotten to now where I'm like, I don't even have time to pick that phone up. And it's making so many different noises. You're like, is that email, or was that a message, or was that WhatsApp? And then it can sit here next to me and I'll hear it. Or, you'll have that person, did you get my message? I heard it, but I'm getting to it. I really am. But you can't allow these things to control you, basically, because they will. Social media will take over. People will pull you in so many different directions, and you'll find that you haven't done anything that you wanted to do at the end of the day.
Mm. Talk about. You know what? I'm gonna. I am so weird because I will sometimes not even pick my phone up for days, and I have nearly every notification turned off. It's very, very few times notifications are turned on my phone, um, because I found it was too distracting and I would get off track so easily. And to your point, I wouldn't get anything done because I would be constantly responding to this ping, that ding. On the computer, same thing. I turn off the notifications so that I'm intentionally going to do the thing that I intend to do at the time. And I also turned off a lot of other things, but um, yeah, that's a big tip for everybody. Control that what's coming in, right? Basically,
Hmm.
it's what I heard you say. Control what's coming in, whether it's audibly or eyesight or wherever, whether it's social media, which, mm, yeah.
I think of it like, I think I talked about it this morning. We control. Like, I have this door closed, even though my daughter, she's not here, but I have this door closed. So I'm controlling the atmosphere in this room. When
Mhm,
I go downstairs, we have our AC set, at a certain temperature. The front door, it's under controlled locks, so we control all of those things. But
mhm.
why is it that the simplest things we can't manage to fine tune and control those things the same way? Because we wouldn't let, if someone came to your door right now and you looked over and they're just sitting there, they've went in your refrigerator, they've grabbed themselves a nice beverage, made a sandwich, and they're kicked back, and you would look over and be like, excuse me. You wouldn't let them come in and invade your environment that way. And then they look
True.
up and be like, hey, Florence, you got any chips to go with this? You'd be like, you want to get out of my house before I call the police? Or, in Texas, we're a different kind of state.
You
You
different
know,
kind of state. They may
it's
meet
a
some
different
peace.
kind of
They
state of
will meet
things.
some peace.
Right. So we wouldn't allow that. So why do we allow things like social media and, things that I call life drainers, the purpose suckers, to come in and pull those things away from us so easily? Because we
Mm,
have to protect that just the same, especially when we are on a mission, when there's a goal that has to be met.
yeah. And sometimes those goals are not what we think they are. Just saying. Um, this is one you I think you've addressed it, but I'm gonna ask it anyway. How do you handle self-care? Just taking care of Torah amidst of everything. How do you handle that? You said you had that first 30 minutes is your time, but beyond that.
I have you probably wouldn't even guess it. My favorite thing, and it's one of the newer sports, if that gives you a hint, that I love to do, and that is pickleball. Pickleball just brings me peace. It's just
Okay.
something, it is.
Okay.
It's just something about hearing the little dink, and
Mhm.
me, I'm the type when I get into something, I go all out. I have to have the shoes, the socks, I mean everything. The paddles, the balls, and I couldn't just order one pack. I had to have all the different colors. So if
Mhm.
I can get myself onto a pickleball court, that's relaxing to me.
Okay.
Or even
Okay.
just to sit, there I'm one of those people that when I read a book, it may be four other books that I'm reading at the same time.
Mhm.
But I don't know, and I can't even explain it, but I just don't read one. I'm reading like four books, but they all tie in together. So being able to sit down with two of my favorite books right now, which I've read like two, if not three times each, to just be able to sit with those. And now that it's warming up, as a friend of mine used to say, now that the sap is rising outside, just to be able to, lift the garage and sit outside and just say, man, look at the beauty.
Mhm.
Look at what create. Look at all the things that I'm missing, and even just whether it's 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 30 minutes, but just taking that time to just say, or maybe
Breathe.
it's just sometimes people will call and say, Tora, what are you doing? And I have a saying, and I'm like, I'm just minding my business. And sometimes people will answer that. I know, Tori, you're minding your business. And minding my business sometimes, honestly, just to wind down, maybe just be sitting, just watching the ceiling fan go around and just saying, thank you, Lord, for all that you do for me.
Mm.
And I'm at such a peace. I mean, for me, it's simple. It's nothing really big or, extravagant. It's just doing the things that really genuinely bring me peace.
Wow. Y'all, she's dropping some wisdom. If you're not getting it, she's dropping wisdom. I'm I'm going to remind our community, ask your questions cuz when we come to community questions, I'm not going to come back again. So you've been in this, I'm going to switch but it ties in. Of course, being in content creation, we met through content creation. And there's a piece of growing a network of people. And in doing that, specifically for us, there are more shows than you can count that you could tap into and more people than you can count. How do you manage that? Be it keeping up with various shows or videos that are being dropped, building the relationships with others like, we met. How what's your kind of rhythm and cadence for keeping track of that? I know what mine is.
Well, now you mean for the shows and the different things
Mhm.
outside of
Mhm.
mine?
Mhm.
I know my schedule. I know my schedule, and it is even though it's on the calendar, but I know when those days are coming. So, like Wednesdays, when you had the Wednesday series going, people know where they can find me on Fridays at 5:30, leading into Sabbath. I'm on
Mhm.
Equip Institute. In on Tuesdays, I'm with ENN. So I have a schedule. And
Mhm.
there's nothing else that's blocked around those, but because I've set those boundaries, people
Mhm.
are already know what Taurus doing. I'm not gonna bother her. Or I'll say, well, if you want to watch it with me, we can do
Mhm.
that. But
Mhm.
that is again, that's kind of like my self-care. That's my time because with feeding into others so much, we can't allow our cup to go so dry. We have
Yes.
to have things that pour into us. And if my number one sportscasteress is over there, when you coming back?
She did a show last night.
I
Monday night.
saw that. I'm
Monday
like,
night.
"Wait a minute."
Monday night.
I
She
said,
was
"Hendo's talking about Christmas, but this says 20 hours ago. How was this live? How did I mean, I went through this whole emotional breakdown. How did I miss this? How did I not know
yeah,
about
she
this?"
she did something with Hendo on Monday night. She was out there, but she'll be back in the right time. She'll be back. Um and so I do something very similar. I have the core shows or the core people that I follow um,
Mhm.
on my calendar. And now there are other times when I know that I have a conflict. Like last night, I had a board meeting, and so it was at the exact same time that something else was happening. So I knew that board meeting takes priority. And that happens. We
Mhm.
by like you said, by having it on the calendar, I can see it. There's never going to be a time where there's no opportunity for something else to be a conflict. But when you've got it on the calendar, then that for me, and maybe you have something different, it gives me the opportunity to positively make a decision and know that I'm making a decision about what's going to be where I'm going to be, what I'm going to pay attention to at any given time, you
And so,
know?
some things are, unavoidable.
Mhm.
They're those, life emergencies that comes up, as we say, life be lifing. And
Life be
it is
lifing.
not life be lifing, and it's not going to stop. So we have to almost be expectant, not waiting on those things. Don't slow down and say, I'm just going to wait on the bottom to drop out, but you keep moving, but also with the anticipation that in the event something happens, it's okay to step away, handle those things, and come back. But, sometimes I would feel so bad if I just couldn't keep to the schedule. And I
Mhm.
had to learn, wait a minute, I wrote the schedule. I can, wait a minute, I can change this.
Don't
Who
make
is
me
that?
pass out. I wrote
Right.
the schedule.
It's like I wrote this, I made the schedule. Why am I being hard on myself? Who said that I have to follow these rules? Where's the 5-step book that says this is the way that it has to be done? And once you find, I have a friend of mine, once you find them, then I want to know who told them. And then who told
Who
them
told you? Who
who
told you?
told you that? And who told them that before they told you? So
Mm,
you always have to go back to the root of the thing. And usually the root of it leads us right back to that mirror. Wait, I wrote the schedule. Why am I upset about that? I didn't. It's okay to change it.
mm. Who told you? And recognizing you can change it.
You can change it.
You're not stuck.
Not stuck.
You're not stuck. Wow, that's a good one. So, speaking of not being stuck, because we can get stuck, what are some of the big challenges you've had and as you had to navigate and rebalance and keep, like you said, all of these parts the Lord showed you in that quiet time how to bring
Mhm.
all of the different parts of Torah together and make it work together. What have been some of your challenges as you start to move in that direction and get settled in that you basically powered through with, prayer and wisdom?
Wow. In the beginning, because initially my channel, a lot of people don't know, and I also ran a full time radio station at one point. So when I first started that channel, it was all radio, DJ, musician related, and which was fairly simple. And about midway through, the spirit said, okay, all that has to go. And by that time, I didn't even realize, because I've never looked at the numbers and I still rarely do. I didn't realize that the channel until my daughter came to me and she said, Mom, I have a question. I said, okay. She said, you want to tell me how you got to 16,000 subscribers? And I said, huh? So I actually had to go and look. I said, say what? So, so I had to go look at the channel. Now, at the same time, when I looked and I said, there is 16,000 subscribers. Okay. At that same time, the spirit says, change it. And I'm like, change it to what? You do realize all these 16,000. But he also reminded me, you haven't done a thing for these 16,000. Trust
Mm,
me that I'm going to send thousands of more. So that's when the channel, when everybody against, when it comes to listening to them and they said, don't do it. They said the channel is going to tank. They said start an entirely new channel and keep the music on. But I said, but no, God said tank it and switch it. And they said, well, what are
mm,
you going to switch it to? Christian content? Say what? Yeah. And I tell you, within months, the numbers continue to grow and grow and grow, and they still continue to grow. So, in the beginning, that biggest challenge was being obedient and making the flip. But then, once I made that flip, I had to say, okay, now you have this community building. And the first question I asked was, well, what's my purpose? But then I realized I was off track. I said, okay, Lord, what do you want me to do with this? What is it that you want me to do? And I tell you, Florence, I have it typed out in one of my favorite systems that I use, my Notion document. It was like a scroll, literally like a scroll unrolled in front of me, the mission, the plan, and purpose of this channel. And it just gave me such a zeal, such a fire, and realizing the true power of content media and marketing. And people think it's this big secret. It's really not. And I'm going to give it to you in one word, it's simply servitude. And once you figure out what lane of servitude you need to be in, everything else will fall into place. The structure, all of the challenges, all of the complications, they will work themselves out if you just focus on the servitude.
mm. Power, y'all. You didn't pay attention to the numbers. You weren't obsessing over how many subscribers, how many watch hours.
No.
None of that mattered. And it all was about serving, serving, serving. Who am I serving? How am I serving them? What is my purpose? So if I'm in my purpose, then everything else will work out.
Hmm.
Will work its way out.
And the word subscribers and followers, they just kind of irritate my shanana, as I say sometimes, because to me, they aren't Delisa and, San and all of these connections.
Mhm.
They all have a connection to each other. That's the beauty of this community. Each
Mhm.
one of them through me have a connection to the other. Even, meeting you, meeting Yolanda, meeting all of these people that I've, come to truly call family and friends. They aren't my subscribers. They aren't
Right.
my followers. They are my family. They are truly a community. Because
Mhm.
right now, as Doc mentioned it the other day, loneliness is a real thing. Loneliness is an epidemic. And people really just want to have someone say, I see you. I
Mhm.
understand you. And this is how I'm here to serve you so that you can heal and move on and walk in your purpose to serve others.
Mm. Power. Ooh, power. Woo! I'm sorry. Y'all may be getting up running around for a minute. Just saying. Just saying. So, you you show up and you ask great questions all the time. So I'm going to ask you for your secret sauce for having those questions come through as conversations are going along, and you just ask these super powerful questions. What's your secret sauce for doing that?
Listening, listening and watching. You remember, I believe it was it James that you had on? And I'd asked a question because I had done my homework. To me, when I invest my time in the guests that you bring on or any channel that I go to, I've studied them. I've watched them. So I'm coming to be fed. And when you say if you have questions, I'm like, Florence,
Ask your questions.
I'm coming with my list of questions, and I'm also taking notes at the same time. But I'm also listening at the cadence, at the movement of the conversation. And I'm like, okay, is it just me? it's a lot of good, it's free nuggets here. But then we oftentimes walk away from these with the same questions. And the other thing is, I truly believe that someone has to go first, because in those settings, we've often been felt, well, I don't want to be the first one to ask a question. So at the same time, I'm trying to show others it's okay to ask that question. There is no wrong question. There is no stupid question, as they say. The wrong question is the one that you don't ask, because then you're going to go home and you still won't know. You still won't know the answer. You'll still be
Mhm.
hoping, wondering, and wishing. So when you have these guests on, my mind is thinking, okay, what can I take from this person that's made it to this level? And with what they're doing in their career, in their content, and apply it back to me. So, and I just formulate the questions based around that and the research that I've done.
Mhm. So you're not just taking in information and listening. You're processing it, you're
Hmm.
assessing it, you're figuring out how it can apply to you, and then where you find a gap where I don't think it. How does this work for me with what I'm coping with? Um, it's what I'm hearing you say. Is that accurate?
That's pretty accurate, because one of my favorite evangelists, he has a saying that, I told him, I said, don't bother sending me a cease and desist, because I'm telling you now I'm going to use it and I'm going to continue to use it. And what he says is, you take another man's cow, but you make your own butter. So any guests that you have on, I'm able to glean something from them. And in some shape or form, you're going to see me use their cow to make my own butter and take it back to my audience. Because if
Mhm.
I told my audience, hey, go over and watch James, go over and watch um, James Hicks or Mr. Worthy, or go over and watch it, they won't. But if I
Mhm.
take that same knowledge and put it in a form to where it's relatable to them, because we're speaking the same language, they'll
Mhm.
understand it. So I take it and I just recycle it back out.
Mhm. Wow. You just taught me something. You just taught me something. Thank you. Thank you. You just taught me something. I mean, well, you've been teaching me something, but no, this one was specifically for me, y'all. You just had a chance to listen to her counsel me. Just saying. Sometimes,
And the other thing,
sometimes y'all get to sit in and watch what's happening behind the scenes. So my brain just went, "Girl, what you been doing?
mhm,
What you been doing?" So you're taking all of this in, you're making your own butter, you're taking it back to your
mhm,
community, you're growing your community, and you're truly building a community of people who are connected and they're getting the message and they're understanding, and you're growing your business as a result of that. So what's been in all of that you've taken on in these many roles that you have, what's been your most rewarding aspect of how you've balanced it? So rewarding for being able to balance and stay in harmony, but then also rewarding from serving the people that you're serving. What's been most rewarding for you?
mm. The first thing is self belief. Because in the beginning, they have that saying, fake it till you make it. And I don't subscribe to that. In the beginning, I did, but I don't subscribe to it, because what I found is that when you truly walk in who you are,
Mhm.
everything, you will attract those that are assigned to you. And it's much easier just to be who you are, instead of trying to be all of these other things, as we said in the beginning, for everyone and be everyone. I can't be you, Florence. I can't. But I can be me 100%. And so
Mhm.
that was the most rewarding thing, seeing that I can truly be myself, and
Mm.
that
Mhm.
flexibility isn't a weakness, it's actually wisdom. And being flexible enough to say, it's okay. And that was a really rewarding thing. And being humble enough to say, man, this feels nice to just peel off all of these masks, throw all of this back, and just be genuine. The next most rewarding thing is an email that I keep for those times when I say, Lord, am I going in the right direction? All I have to do is look over at this email. It's in a small frame. I checked my email account and I open it. And you know how some that you'll see like off subject lines, and you're like, okay, I'm not sure what I'm getting ready to get into, but I'm gonna read this. And it was one that really put the pause in me as I read it. There was a young lady, and she had written out her goodbye notes, written out everything. And something told her, just stop and watch YouTube. She's like, stop and watch YouTube. And she was heading up the mountain to do what she was planning to do. And YouTube, and she's telling me all of this in the email. So she opened YouTube, and what came up? One of my videos. So she said, well, I'm going to watch this while I'm continuing to walk on and do what I'm going to do. But she found herself walking slower and slower and slower. But by the time she made it to that interview, she realized that she had turned around and was headed back towards home instead of up the mountain. And she expressed to me in this email how the genuineness, the message was so simple that she didn't feel beat over the head. She didn't feel ashamed. She didn't feel judged. She finally felt seen. And under that email was a small, it looked like it may have been taken. You know how the pictures used to come out on the old Motorola cell phones when they first came out? You can't make it any bigger, it's kind of blurred. But I could see the image of the crumpled note that she had left there for her daughter to find that next morning. Every time I look at that, that reminds me you have a purpose, you have a mission. There are people that are waiting on you. There's a message that you have to give. All of the tests, all of the trials that you went through, someone is waiting on that. So don't be selfish because you're tired. Don't be selfish because you're hungry. Go and serve. And I will fulfill you and give you all the strength that you need to continue going. So that email right there is the second most rewarding thing since I did the flip and changed this over and started doing the media, the marketing, and the ministry.
True, true, true reward, a powerful reward. And it comes from what you said, serving,
Mm-hmm,
serving, not getting, not being selfish, not saying, just serving, pure and simple,
mm-hmm,
and being who you are. Can't beat somebody else. They are who they are. You are who you are.
mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah.
And being willing to pivot. You know, I was in marching band from fifth grade all the way through high school. And then I also, when I first went to university, I actually went on a band scholarship. One of the things we learned during that time was the pivot. We had to know when to pivot and how to pivot, and we had to do it on a whim or it messed up the entire formation. We couldn't focus on if the person next to me was going to pivot, if the person in front of me. I just had to worry about my pivot and to do it right on the 50-yard line and be ready to go. So sometimes we get so caught up thinking, what if I don't make the pivot? What if I don't do it correctly? Or even, how do I make the pivot? But it
Mm-hmm.
comes in the practice. We would practice for hours and hours and hours until the sun went down. After that, even on the way home, I'm walking home after school after 2, 3 hours of practice, and I'm still working on the pivot so I could make sure I had it right. It's just being consistent and pushing through. and it will automatically come on instinct. Because I don't know how, in the midst of, 200 people, not being able to look and see the lines, because we still had to march, we still had to look straight ahead, because we were what they called a court style marching band. We weren't the drop it like it's hot style band as much as I wanted to be. We were court style. Everything had to be prompt and precision. So we weren't able to look down, but I knew when I'd hit that exact 50-yard marker, the 55, I knew from all the practice. So just put in the practice and it will come, and you'll be able to make the pivot even when you need to, even when the stadium lights are so bright that you can't even see which direction you're going. But if you trust the process, you'll be able to make the pivot right on time.
Mm, I just thought all them hours and hours and hours of me out there on that field in the military. Whew, yes, Lord. I was like,
Mm.
I'm reliving it sitting over here.
Mhm. And if you think about it
Reliving it.
now, it some of it comes back.
Mhm.
And we don't
Mhm.
realize how all of those hours affect us now. We just out here, we're sweating, we're tired, but it really and truly makes a difference in how we approach life and how we do things.
Yeah. Yeah, it does. And that discipline that you talked about in that practice, I'm gonna pivot a little bit here, because it is putting in the reps and putting in the practice about how to manage all of your systems and workflows and having processes in place. So you have, and I'm gonna tackle it from 3 point. You have procedures. People confuse these. You have procedures that you follow. A procedure is not a process, and nor is it a workflow. So, a procedure that we follow to accomplish a task. Then we have processes that we follow. That's a group of procedures that make up one thing to get to a goal. And then you have workflows. This is where I'm going to land. Workflows, the things you use, you flow from this tool to this tool to this tool to get that process completed. So, having said all of that, because we had a little teeny bit of a conversation, y'all, in the green room before we came on, what are some of your key workflows that you follow as you are, and we're going to stick with content, but it really could apply to any part of your life. Some of your key workflows that you follow and tools that you use and how you string them together.
Mm. My favorite tool of all time is Notion. I'm telling you, when I it really changed my life. It really did. I love me some Notion. And between Notion, and I like to keep things simple. And at first I thought I needed all of these different tools. And I'm like, I didn't need all of this. I have Notion. I have my Google Calendar and my Outlook calendar. Those are synced together. And I use System.io for all of my email marketing, all of that goes out, and Opus Clips and Canva. And all of those workflow, they all go together because the lessons, the outlines, that I told you, all of that's planned out for the rest of this year. They come from Notion. Then I look at the calendar, everything's scheduled on the calendar. Once it's on the calendar, then we go over into Canva. Once everything's done in Canva, then we flow into Opus Clips or into CapCut. And then from there, we go to press and print.
There you go. Y'all, she just laid out a workflow for you. We use something different, although I'm toying with some stuff. I play with a lot of tools because I have different people who have different things that they use, and that's sort of what I do. But for what I use, as you've heard me say in, I don't know, however many videos it is at this point, my core information hub is Evernote, um, and then everything else fits around that. Um, but having whatever that core is important. It's what you that's where you start, right? Getting it
Hmm.
all down someplace. Now that could be anywhere. It could be in a Google Doc, it could be in a text file. But whatever you find, you found Notion and that made sense to you and it works for you. Do you use Apple Notes at all? as kind of a quick capture?
You remember when you had that, but you changed my life, Florence, when you talked about the folders. I had no idea. No idea. I was just throwing stuff in there. And when I'd go to, I'd be like, now, where is this? And I'm scrolling and I'm scrolling and I'm scrolling. You changed my life when you told me, you can create folders in Apple Notes. And I said, say what? So I
You
heavily
silly.
use it. It really did, because now I can actually find the things that I'm looking for because they're in their folders. And I did take your advice, because I was like, wait, Florence, I have thousands of notes. And you said, take them, put them to the side. And as you need them, then you go and look for them, and then you put them in their respective folder. Because me, I was going to try and overwhelm myself to put everything in place to get started. I don't have time for that. So I
Right.
just started from fresh and went through. But I love that system, because whether I'm at the grocery store or wherever I'm at, if something comes, I know I'm not going to remember it. So into Apple Notes it goes.
Mm. So that's your quick capture tool.
Hmm.
And then you move it wherever you're going to put it from there.
It's
Okay.
either that or Chat GPT.
Okay.
I'll open it and I'll dictate it by voice,
Mm-hmm.
and I have it to go ahead, and do what it's going to do. So then
Mm-hmm.
that way, once I get, I'm able to sit down, at one of the computers with it, I can pull it up, and then I can go ahead and work through the process. But at least I've dictated it. It's in there
Mm-hmm.
in ChatGPT, and then I can take it from there.
Okay. Awesome. Well, I think we got a few questions. I guess I shouldn't ignore everybody the rest of the night. I'm going to get these questions in, and then I'm going to let you go home. So, and Delisa, I think she just scooched out. I think it was her. Uh, but we'll make sure. If you could do anything differently in life, what would it be and why? Ooh,
Mm,
that's a deep question. If
mm,
you could do anything differently in life, what would it be and why?
wow. Hmm. That's a question I've never honestly thought about, that because this is what I love to do. And at this point, to answer that honestly for me, at this point, to do anything differently would be outside of God's will. It would be what I wanted. And I can't
Mm,
think of anything that it would be one of those situations of need versus want. Um, I really can't, because I truly love what I do. I really do.
okay. Awesome. Awesome.
Hmm.
Now we got a fun question coming. We got a fun question. David Hunt. Where
Oh,
did the
mercy.
red car come from? Asking for a friend, not afraid to ask the question. Where did the red car come from?
Where did that red? How did we come up with that, Florence?
I don't
Oh,
know.
I know what it was. You remember when Kirk was doing the morning motivations? And he said a quote one morning after I came, because remember, when I would be finishing my broadcast, Kirk would generally just be starting his. But this
Mm-hmm.
was the day when I ran later. And right when I came in, he said this quote. But the quote that he said was a confirmation of something, that I
Mm.
was having that battle. You remember um when who was it? Oh, I can't remember what the quote was, but anyway, it really hit home. And I said, well, my good. And I said it out loud, standing right here. I'm like, Kirk just gonna drive all up in my driveway with his little red car like that. And so that's what started it, because I really felt like he just drove up, and I don't know why. Actually, I do know
Little
why the
red
car was
car.
red, because I used to have this salsa red. I always wanted a Volkswagen Beetle. And you remember when they came out with the new ones? And so I went and got a hot salsa red Volkswagen Beetle. It had cream seats in it, and this little five
Ooh.
and me, we was all up and down the highways of Florida. And so I think that's where the red came in at, because I pictured when I looked for the emoji, that's what popped up. So it reminded me of the little beetle that I had for a couple of years there in Florida. And so that's when I'm like, Kirk, you just drove your little red car all up in my driveway.
And now we know, oh my goodness, folks going crazy over here. I'm trying to go through and get some of these folk. David wants to get pickleball question mark. David, you don't know about pickleball?
What? Man, better get you a
You don't
headband
know
and
about
some
you
gym
don't know about
shorts and get to
pickleball?
it.
Look, me with my backward self even know about pickleball. I actually know about that. So, all right. So we're gonna just kind of be nice with in so many great comments in here. I'm trying to get them all, ma'am. I'm trying. Yeah, I'm trying to, and they talking to each other, which is awesome. I love that. Um, but I want to make sure. So I'm gonna go. I'm gonna do it this way. So we're gonna go from the top and just Tora. I'm gonna say this. Anything you want to comment on, please do. Please add your specialness. So the two powerful women on one awesome live stream. Well, at least one of us, Tora, powerful. No, just joking. But thank you, emotional CEO. And Delisa says the awesome watching was wondering how you came up with your logo. That's awesome.
From
Looking
my friend that called me a tornado.
you tornado. So now we know how you got your name and your logo. And
hmm
your number one sportscastress is over here commenting. She loves this collab. I'm loving it too. Welcome, Roy. I thought you were going to be at an event this evening, but thank you for being here. So
Hey,
glad to have
Roy.
you here. Hey, Roy. And hey, Michael Flemings, glad to have you in the building. Thank
Micah.
you for waving. And everybody, yes, for more inspiration and harmony from Tora, here's how to connect with her and find out what you're missing in her morning Bible studies and other content. Because you did a session with a client showing them how to use Chat GPT to be their marketing agent. I was like, girl,
Oh man, well
that
stay tuned because I'm
that was awesome.
actually coming out with another one where we're gonna take ChatGPT, Canva, and really show people that's all you need. There's no excuse in 2025 for anybody to say I ain't got no money. I can't do the things that I want to do. I can't design. You don't need it. With these two things alone. And so what I'm going to do is and I wanted to start it this quarter, but I didn't get a chance to get it all together because it has to be organized and has to be right. But start coming in the afternoons to teach people how to fish and be able
Okay.
to feed themselves.
Okay. Awesome. And so then deletes the journal boundary, structure, time management, move when the cloud moves, some key elements of success. All right. Boundaries, structure, time management. Those are some keys. Those are definitely
Mm-hmm.
some keys. And David is just stretching your name out, ma'am. You know, he's gonna be David. We love him. And then control your distractions.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. David, who are you trying to fight with? Oh no. Emotional CEO, who are you trying to fight with? Who are you trying to fight with? And I don't okay, not the sandwich. Can you
Oh,
help?
when I said if you looked over and someone came in and had just made themselves a
Oh,
sandwich on
oh, in
your
the
couch and was like,
house.
Florence, you have any chips?
They making themselves comfortable.
You don't have
Oh
any
my
spring
goodness.
water?
Yeah. Michelle, where is my peacemaker? Yeah, we're gonna need one. We're gonna need one. And emotional CEO, bring a friend to equip. And hey, Aubrey. Aubrey is my
Oh,
writing buddy. She is my writing buddy. She keeps
I love me
me
some obs.
going. She keeps me going to my bring it. And yes, we do this. We live and we learn.
Mhm.
We live
Yes, we
and
do.
we learn and tank it. Yeah, sometimes we tank things. And Delisa got more journal notes, notes to self. Focus on servitude and everything will work itself out. So we got
Mhm.
all these things from you, Tori. You need to take them because they're gonna end up in another book, I'm sure. If they don't, I'm gonna be looking for you. Yeah. When she said she researched all the guests, I'm like, okay,
Mhm.
okay. I think she was speaking to me on that one about telling people and speaking to people in our own language. And y'all, you can go get. She's got her book, um, the 8 prayer watches. You can get it
Mm.
right here at this location that's in the chat right now. You can go there and pick it up, as well as other material that she's got available for you. So please don't neglect that. That book will help you tremendously. I'm just saying. I'm just saying it will help you. So go there. And then David, take the cow but make your own butter. And that's when
Yes,
you were talking. I was like, they just watch me go through a counseling session. They
that's
just
what I
watch
always
me
do with
go through a
everything,
counseling session.
no matter what it is, what I'm listening to, I'm going to figure out a way. You know how they say some people can make a sermon out of anything?
Mm-hmm.
Hey, you know what? And the thing is that not necessarily, our lives are sermons every day. And it may be
Mm-hmm.
the only sermon that somebody else may get to hear. So,
Mm.
whatever the nugget is, take it and make your own butter and put it back out there into the world because there is nothing new under the sun.
There isn't. And the way
Mm-mm.
you deliver, you talked about there are people who are assigned to you. There are people who are assigned to your voice. So the way you deliver the message is going to resonate with those people who have been assigned to your voice that only you're going to speak to and help.
Mm-hmm.
I could say you could say the same deliver the same information. I won't say the same, but deliver the same information, and I could deliver the same information. The information doesn't change, but the ears that are assigned to our voices are different ears, and
Mm-hmm.
the message will reach those ears that are assigned to our voices.
And that's why there's so many different versions of songs. You have the reggae version, you have the classical version, but it's all the same song. It's about how it's played as to who it reaches.
Yeah, yeah. So I have asked you lots of questions, and yes, and so I did not. I hit the wrong button. See, I'm still learning. So that one's worth repeating. But Aubrey said, once a pastor, always a lesson. And there was somebody who put something up here about sneaker preach. It was David Hunt.
What David say?
Hashtag sneaker preach.
Sneaker preach.
Sneak, sneaker preach. Sneak a preach. So, Tora, I am not going to belabor the time. Thank you so much. I want to thank you beyond measure for sharing all of the nuggets that you shared. I'm certainly going to go back and study this because not often, I always have to go back and watch because, in the midst of it, I don't catch everything. So I catch it after I go back after the show is over and watch it. But before I leave, what I want to do, we're going to go home, as the saying go. So the way I want to leave this is I want you to share whatever it is that you've been anointed and appointed to leave us with for
Mm,
today. And then y'all, we going home. Miss Tor, it's all
all
on you,
right.
ma'am.
Whether it's work life harmony, it isn't just no, it's not about balance. It's about alignment. And you don't have to divide your life into these perfect little sections in order to make it work. You just have to align your energy, your priorities, and your purpose so that everything you pour into moves you forward. Stop sitting and waiting for permission. Don't wait on they. Don't wait on them. Stop negotiating your worth because you're not here just to survive your schedule. You're here to thrive in the calling and the purpose that you were designed to walk in each and every day. Prioritize what fuels you. Cut off immediately those things that drown you. And if you don't take anything away, take anything away but this. Start setting those boundaries today. Protect your peace like your future depends on it, because it does. And most importantly, just show up fully as you. No more shrinking back, no more second guessing, and stop playing small. This world is too big. This world is too big for you to just play in one small corner. The world doesn't need any more filtered, watered down versions of people. The world needs the real you. So if you just walk boldly in your purpose and live fully in your gifts. And to everyone that's listening, I just want to thank you for your time, your energy, and your openness to grow. And a huge shout out to Florence, of course, Equip Institute, for creating this space to make not only this conversation, but so many other powerful conversations happen. And so, family, just keep building and keep showing up. But most of all, keep making moves that matter.